So, I understand Australia's locked down pretty hard. Is that true?
Big cities, yeah. Like I'm the median city, Adelaide. Like we got a million people in here. We had the most confusing thing happen with it. For some reason, a dude lied about not working at a pizza restaurant and saying that he got coronavirus from like ordering a pizza there. And so they induced a hard 6-day lockdown to everyone. Like every business shut, like no cafes allowed. You're only allowed to leave one person out of your household, only allowed to leave once a day. And so we all shut down. Like I work at a cafe, we threw all of our food out, and then they lifted it in 2 days.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, he accidentally did, I'm sure.
it's so annoying. Like I don't even like that was like one of those things. Like I don't even care about how long it goes. Like just give me like a straight end date so I can like plan something. Because I know like work ended up being like half a week and half another. It's just so insane. But you know, like we're going through it all right. Like that Premier was like at least deceptive about it. Like he never said 2 weeks and then we'll be fine, and he never tried to sort of.
He never pretended anything would ever be fine. So, at
Yeah,
least there's
much.
that.
Yes, exactly. So like, I mean, Jesus Christ, there's people in Melbourne and Sydney. Like Melbourne had like a 34-day lockdown where you weren't allowed like outside 5 kilometers around your house, like at all. And yeah, like I looked at people on social media that I was friends with, and they like were going insane.
So, you saw me talk to Paul.
Yeah, I did. I really liked your perspective on Peterson. I was really, really surprised with it.
Well, being I'm under a channel that arguably is derivative, it's a fairly risky stance to have, but it's honest, and that's what he.
Yeah.
So I can't do
Yeah,
anything else, right?
yeah, definitely. And I was like, one of the things that I've been like finding strange is like how I consider like real life versus the internet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Because like,
definitely.
yeah, it's like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan are two of the most famous people in the world. Yeah, I don't think I've had like 7 conversations in real life about them.
Did you go to Peterson when he came through Australia?
Yeah,
You went
yeah,
to
no,
one
I
of his
did.
things?
I got to see him and Dave Rubin do his quote unquote stand up. But it was bizarre. Like he was easily the most bizarre celebrity I've ever seen, because it was normally when you meet rock stars and I don't know, celebrities, there's like a veneer lifted, and it's like, oh yeah, there's just a different persona. Like underneath that, there was like just never that. Like Peterson was just, oh yeah, okay, he really is genuine about who he is. It was very bizarre.
I
And it
thought
was
you
like,
were going to go the other way and say that when you met him, since you had watched him so much on the YouTubes, that it felt like
yeah,
he had a veneer on at that thing.
nah, like yeah, I was like, yeah, that was the thing. I was just like, oh yeah, no, like you haven't been putting on an act at all. The weird things was like how he structured his talks. Like they're very cerebral at the beginning, and then at the very end, it's clean your room and be a capitalist.
Yeah.
Good summarizing. But like, yeah, like I mean, it's like clean your room, be a capitalist. Also, there's empirical evidence of the transcendent, and I'm just like, that last bit is the bit I think we're all interested in.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Did you see? Were you into him enough to have seen the August 2017 Patreon Q&A? Like, I don't know how into him you were, but
I might have seen it, but like I would have cataloged it. I probably would have seen that one especially.
that one is the one where he talks about the origins of the map's a meaning symbol
Mm.
and the religious
Oh, the meaning of
experience.
music.
Yeah, the religious experience he has there.
Yeah.
That one jumps out to me as much as the ayahuasca letter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the ones that like got me was honestly his mythological points to it. Because before Peterson, I studied Campbell and Mercer Eliade. Like, do you know who they are? Like Joseph Campbell is like
I've
pretty famous.
yeah, Campbell I got off top offhand. I've heard the other name a whole lot, but I have no idea what like Campbell I know the shtick of. The other
Yeah,
guy I've
yeah, yeah,
heard
yeah.
enough to know he's a guy, but I don't know what his shtick is.
His shtick is more like he's like a translator of poetry across like every kind of culture to sort of
Ah,
explain the monomyth. He's yeah, like his hands are a bit dirtier than like Campbell is, and like he's actually done the work, whereas Campbell's kind of like neatly presented and assembled it, and then told George Lucas what to do.
and how do you say his name again?
Mercer Eliade. It's like
Like like the
Mircea.
Iliad? Iliad?
No, Eliade. Eliade.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was an incredible mythographer, and I don't know, like brief background from me is like I I was a slam poet when I ran into Peterson.
That's great. That is, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, man. I like
So
well,
that's the
yeah.
slam poet, just for in case this is something people listen to. That's when you like do it on the spot, like against somebody else, or just on the spot.
No, slam poet is like slam technically means competition poet. So like the entire idea was like it was this I don't know very early woke movement you could call it, where they were like they didn't want any cultural gatekeepers. So you rocked up to the night to see poetry, and they threw candy out to the audience, and whoever got the candy was the judge. And so like it was like basically like loud, populist, like expressive. You had 2 minutes to sort of cram everything in. So the louder and faster you spoke, the more information you could put into it and stuff like that.
Right.
And mm,
And that
yeah,
was
like
like what you were doing with your life, your main thing that got you
yeah,
out of bed.
aside from hospitality, yeah, like, and you know, still to this day, I write poetry and like have like a bunch of stuff on projects for performances and art stuff. But like before, like maybe 6 months before I saw Peterson, I wrote a poem about my white privilege, and had all of these like different like moments when I was like crying because of attacks on Muslims in Iraq and all of these just intense, like the social justice beast was like right in front of me.
Whoa,
And that was like,
whoa, the social justice beast. Describe that. How can I tell when it's nearby?
when did you put a black square up on your Instagram feed?
Instagram is related to Facebook, and Facebook is DOD, so no.
Okay, okay. I think you'll be fine. Sounds like you have the correct amount of armor. Um, but yeah, it's the social justice beast is I don't know, proof of compassion. I think that might be the easiest way to put it. That's when that's when I noticed it.
All right, so
Like
when did things start feeling wonky? You were fighting against the injustices of this world just like they want you to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
They started feeling wonky when I realized that because I have some like poetry that I still truly believe about fucking a lot of those social justice things, but like I just realized that the conversation never progresses past whitey admit your guilt, and that
well,
was kind of sad.
oh God. All
Oh,
this will have to be edited.
beg your pardon.
Why?
Oh, was I say something wrong or?
No, I was about to. Um, so this is probably gonna get clipped out, but like, I want to grab the woke people and say, the only reason you're saying white is because if you said Jew, you'd be an anti-Semite.
Oh man.
And
Oh.
and the thing is, I'm not an anti-Semite. I just think they're middle management for like
Mm.
who we should really be mad at, and
Yeah.
we're not allowed to
Yeah.
see who we should really be mad at. So it's
Mm.
like they're the chosen people for that's what they were chosen
Yeah.
to be.
Oh,
But
like that.
I
That's
can't say that
yeah.
on YouTube.
Oh no,
So
I can't. Like, I
and
did like that. The whole side of that entire world, like, is weird. Because just on the basis thing, it's like I know one Jew in my entire life, and it's very strange. Like they're just not here.
they don't like that's
So like
well,
so it's just all
that's
like it's just all the internet. That's to me. I'm just like that's so bizarre.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, but I agree with you in a little
get back
bit.
to things that
Like
can air. Hold on.
yeah.
Excuse us, ladies and
I
gentlemen, we're back.
but yeah, like so like I wrote like poetry like that I thought would be like there you go, that's where I stand, and I was just like oh they like there's always this thing with like I think in everything that the woke movements do is like the most extreme common denominator they assume that first. So it's like if you're white, you're the most privileged, or if you're black, you will get offended by X, X, and Y, or if anyone would
You're
assume you're
supposed to
X,
get
X, and Y.
offended by X, X, and Y, isn't it?
Yeah. Just
Like if
every
you're
any.
in a woke crowd and X or
Mm,
Y happens and you
mm,
don't get offended, isn't that a thing?
yeah. Well, like I mean, it on like on so many different levels. But I don't know. Like, there's an interesting thing that I've noticed. Yeah, like that was the main thing that I saw, and then I watched
You just stumbled on this
Peterson.
stuff, or was it like, oh my God, look at this guy we hate now, and you're like,
Yeah, it
what
was
do I?
that. It was
Yeah,
that. It was
somebody's
that,
like
and it was
brought him to you, saying we're supposed to hate this.
yeah. It was like that. Literally, like that girl who went up to him in the middle of the university grounds, like published a video thinking that she won the fight, and I'm like, you have no idea what you've done.
You
But
have no idea what you've done. Nice, nice.
like seriously, like that was the thing. Like I don't know, like and it
And
was
then you
really
like started
interesting.
listening to what he said, or
Yeah, I started listening to what he said, started sort of like trying to realign and keep in mind like it was pretty earth shattering for like that entire year. In terms of like, okay, what do I believe? Because it kind of I think it went too political too quick. Um, I'm not entirely sure if that's just like a default because people my age don't consider right wing stuff seriously, or
right?
never did.
Because that's just what
And yeah,
they're
like I
they're entirely
mean,
based off the stupid farmer vote. There's no point
yeah,
in engaging them intellectually, right?
yeah. Like I mean, John Stewart, we had similar sort of commentary sort of channels on our side as well. Like I mean, you'd always be open-minded to sort of leave a Christian alone, but like a right winger is way more harmful to society. So I think that was the reason why like it became political so quickly because it was just like that was where the biggest error was in a lot of people's worldviews. Mm.
So,
But
Are you in college, or are you just running around with woke people when you're like? Are you in the closet
uh,
listening to Peterson? What's going on?
I wasn't in the closet the first few times actually. Like I posted him up on Facebook all the time, and like every now and then I would get a backlash from it. I had like friends who were like devout communists, but like also real big into Jung, and so they like, and so
We have
like
mixed feelings.
I had one mate who wanted to write an essay on everything that Peterson got wrong about Jung, and he just never got to it. And I kept messaging him, man, and he's just like, it's actually a lot harder than I thought. And I'm like, well, there you go. Like, honestly, like the sort of more vitriolic sort of moments, like parts of the internet, kind of only happened this year. Like everyone can sort of be a bit more confrontational and a bit sort of preachy previously, but we'd normally let each other like believe what we want to believe. Like majority of my friends already know who I am, and so they've talked to me about this type of stuff.
So are they still woke?
No. One friend I would say like, yeah, he's still pretty woke, but like at the very least he's proactive.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt, right?
Culture. He cares about culture. He cares about people. He's not trying to like protest or anything like that. He organizes community nights. He takes care of people, and that bleeds out into not caring about work shit as well. And yeah.
You mean actually helping people makes you not care about the political drama around how wonderful everyone is? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's so strange. It's so strange. Like, so many of my friends that just keep watching this, like, stories on Instagram and DoD websites and stuff. And then I would talk to them and I'm like, you are a completely different person. What the hell are you doing?
It's
I wasn't in college, and during that time I was working and I ran a poetry night.
So there was college kids at the poetry night?
Oh yeah. I would have, what, 3 years ago, I would have been 26. So,
all right, before it gets too far, like coming from the conspiracy side.
Yeah.
How did you guys let them come for Alex Jones?
I think, well,
that was when I knew you guys weren't like I mean I had already
Jordan Peterson group?
No, the SJ I broke away from I knew the SJWs had lost their gourd when Gamergate happened.
Like, dude, they have no idea who he is. Like, they genuinely think like he ran a merry band of fucking alt-righters to destroy pizza shops and like,
I don't know. It's so weird
the parents of Sandy Hook's faces. Like, seriously, like everyone brings up.
It's so weird that like the left has abandoned free speech. That is.
Oh man, that was like when Peterson sort of described what free speech was. I think it's the same way. Like a lot of people didn't think free speech means what it means. Kind of like the government knowing your personal information. Like a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, so what? Like, there's like, people are just going to find that out anyway. I have nothing to hide kind of thing. And it's like, actually, no, this is way more serious than that. The
best way I can say the importance of free speech that I've gotten to is, if I can't tell you that you're hurting me, I have to find another way to talk.
I agree. Yeah, it was insane. Like, I think honestly, like it probably like the Alex Jones where like my side came from. Like I can speak from like a leftist poet perspective. Like we thought words were too powerful. Like we went from the other way. We were like, no. Like you're being too dangerous with your words. Like you're weaponizing something too much almost. This has to be controlled.
I think it's a generational thing because like I was in high school when Schindler's List came out, and like Mel Gibson and The Patriot, and it's like they leaned hard on Jefferson and like the Federalist Papers and stuff. So like it astounds me how much of like what the founding fathers cared about is not even a thought anymore. But
yeah, I like it astounds me like how accurately you can paint your own world right now. Like people can just decide what they want and like be so totally correct to the point that like I watched a mate like try to talk about like Antifa violence, and everyone was going, no. Like, these are alt-right people dressed up as Antifa committing the violence. I'm just, I can't deal with like the dissonance or the certainty, probably. Like, I think you watched the Stephen Fry monk debate.
No. Oh, yes, I
Really?
actually did. That is like that's one of the few because I always respected the intellect of Mr. Fry.
Oh my God, it's such a powerhouse.
So I was happy when that one came out. That is correct. Yeah. And then
I
that
was,
one, the opposition was theatrically bad.
yeah, yeah. It was like I was very surprised. I don't know. I enjoy that style of speaking. That what is it? The snake oil sales pitching from the pulpit.
Oh yeah, it's got its
Yeah.
appeal, but like against Fry and Peterson, it was like I came here to see brains fighting, not this.
Yeah.
But it
Hey,
was
like,
still
can
worth it
I
to
ask
see them
you?
together, those two.
Yeah, can I ask you something about Peterson actually?
Yeah, you can ask me whatever you want.
Because there's this thing that I remember sort of when I first looked at him, and I was just like, oh wow, I get to learn so much from him. But like, I think Paul has kind of highlighted this as well. Like, there's also this moment where Peterson gives people about like revelatory speech that isn't just knowledge. Like, there's this moment that is kind of like a pastor or a preacher that like is connecting to people's minds, that is like that kind of like like inspiring quotes or like anything like that. But I think there's like,
All
what do
right,
you think of that?
what do I think of that? Um, do you know this song? Do you know Blues Traveler, the band? It's kind of old.
No, I don't know.
Okay, they got this song called The Hook, which is what I think of that. Um, no, I don't. It's like for me, he was great up until, like he was like his he had the full armor and the heart was good, and then at some point something happened, and I think you could probably tie it to when he did the instantiation of the IDW as a thing is probably when it happened.
Yeah, the moment it became named.
But there was this thing where it wasn't. It's like he got diminished when they added a team. And to become part of the team, it like I don't know, but
There was an interesting thing I noticed actually on the first two Joe Rogans that he was on. For the first 20 minutes, they completely reverse. So like in the beginning, it's Joe Rogan talking to Jordan Peterson, and he's going like, man, like you really should use this internet more and like be able to be more educational and sort of involve all of these different moments and like stuff. And like Jordan Peterson's kind of like, oh yeah, no, that's a good idea. I could make a lecture on George Orwell, or I could do X, and Y on Solzhenitsyn, and then they would sort of bleed into the ideas. But on the next podcast, it's Jordan Peterson talking about like, oh, I can't get confused I can't mistake myself for the wave. And he became that person of like, oh, I can't, like, I'm actually part of this intellectual revolution. And I was always surprised that like they had that symmetry to it. And I was just, and that like conspiracy brain wise, that ticked on to me.
the I never even looked into it because it was so juicy. But like my understanding is that Joe Rogan is tied to something that's literally labeled the disinformation company or the disinfo company. And like
Oh man.
that's my
I mean,
understanding. I'm not the type that does the research, but like
yeah.
I don't not it's like stuff that's so good. Like I watched the video. I remember why he said it was that way. I don't remember why. I remember that there was reasons that he looked into it. He like went to the websites and pointed, but
yeah,
I
like,
just kept
I
the
mean,
end.
yeah, like
And
I say, like, I mean, it's that type of stuff like when he stopped going live and when he wouldn't have XX and Y on after a while, or when the celebrities kind of got too big.
I don't know. When he flipped on the moon landing.
From Neil deGrasse Tyson too.
I followed Owen Benjamin after he came on
Yeah,
Rogan.
man.
Like
Man.
that stuff with when it was Owen and Rogan and that dude on crack, Metzger.
Kurt Metzger, yeah.
And it was just so weird and awkward of a thing to watch.
Yeah.
That it like made Owen's story like, all right, what's going on with this guy? Because he was who's that? Oh yeah, I've seen him in stuff before, and then he became interesting. It's like that guy's tagged for a character arc, and so I watched him start live streaming with his little piano, and then he turned on Peter's. Like first, there was a point where he was like he wrote a fanboy song, a birthday song for Peterson. And then, like, within 3 to 6 months, he was like, "This guy's an evil wizard, and this is the rhetoric he's using." So, like, I watched that whole spiel, and how.
Yeah, no, I remember like the first point of it. Like, he was like he like listed off the IDW and was making jokes about all of them. And it seemed like it was like a free speech play to begin with, and then it was just like, "Oh no, you actually mean it." Yeah, I still think that was like kind of sad because he was pretty cool.
Dude,
he was like really.
He's building he's building an army in Idaho, in a community called Beartaria. So he's doing okay.
Oh man, yeah, I think the last time I was like, I think I tried to follow him on the second channel or something like that, and I just saw the thumbnail of the video that said why Muhammad Ali is pro-segregation. Just like, dude, I'm not even fucking stepping into that. Like, I felt bad.
He's not stupid.
No, he's not stupid. He just has like he's just left to his own devices. It's like that whole thing that Jordan Peterson said is like, you drive something underground, it thrives.
There you go.
Like, yeah, like that was something that I was just like, yeah, no shit, that really doesn't happen.
Here's a fun fact.
How does?
Here's a fun fact. They YouTube was starting to roll out their membership subscriptions things when he got removed, and the people who had subscribed to his membership got billed for 2 months at least after he got removed.
Oh fucking Jesus!
It's so I don't trust him, but it's like I watch to see what people say and like what for me we're in an information war. It's a battle for minds, literally. And I like it might be all zombie minds. It's like how many of the zombie minds you can swing, no matter what you're saying, is what's important.
Yeah, there's like the last Bourne movie that came out always like stuck with me. This one thing that they said was like when they were trying to make super soldiers, like the best way you can change a body is through a virus. And so it's like a virus is the best form of containing information. And I was just like, fuck. Because, yeah, like, I mean, there's a reason Jordan Peterson got famous. There's a reason, like, all of these people, like, came through. And it was because they got viral, literally.
Yeah. And, wow, there's this thing that I think, and I have no evidence for, except that it's all so obvious that it has to be the case that something like this is at play, where like you get more points if you tell them and they do it anyway. Like with that, like because they're like, well, we're letting them know in the movies, and like we're telling them this is what we're gonna do to them. And if they still don't catch it, then I get more points.
Yeah, I think it's because or
it could be part of the magician trick where like they put it in your head, makes it more possible. Like it makes it easier for them to do because like it's swimming in the subconscious of the collective as a thing that can happen. It's
like the reason I never, like, I had friends who went deep into conspiracy theories, and I sort of had to sort of leave them at a certain shore. Like, they went down like Anunnaki and Hollow Earth and everything. But I
never went
the reason
hollow.
why I never went hollow. But I like the reason why I stopped was because they never could prove themselves wrong.
Like never
And
admit
that
it
was,
when there was proof, or what do you mean?
yeah, like, well, they would, like, if they would find, like, if they would look for it, if they were going to look for something, they were going to find it. That. And there was no room to go, like, actually, like, what if it is just something else? What if it is just that? I don't think it's, like, necessarily, like, and I think that's why they lose people. Because, like, I mean, they don't account for a secondary opinion, but, like, people don't like hearing them as well. I think in terms of, like, the Great Reset and the way that things are going about, I don't understand how people are missing it now.
It's like
Like,
you bring it up as if it's a conspiracy thing, which
it's
is, you
not.
know what I mean?
No, but, like, yeah, but people see it as one.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
they
Well, actually, like,
they prime all the people en masse to be familiar with rejecting conspiracies, and then but
yeah,
it's the people en masse are going to believe that it's better not to have property. Anyway, they're
Mhm.
like, yeah, renting stuff is fine. I'm obedient. I have
Yeah,
money. It's great to rent things.
yeah.
So
I have mates who have a very successful hedge fund company, and they made like $10 million in 1 week once.
nice
They
friends to
both came from
have.
poverty, so yeah, they both came from poverty, so like they're real people to talk to. But one of them, like, they literally like made like $20 million in 1 year when they were like a slow startup and didn't actually work because the guy just did an algorithm, and it was it read the play so well. And the one thing that they told me was like, it's not when things go up or when things go down that you pay attention to. It's the greatest amount of growth is when things like this, like, people, like, when volatility happens, that's when you can profit the most on people.
Well, it seems
And,
like
like,
it'd be beneficial to certain parties if I created volatility, then, doesn't it?
yeah, people, like, I mean, Jesus, we have a 6-day lockdown. Actually, it's a 3-day lockdown. Actually, it's mandatory to check into every cafe. Actually, it's mandatory to wear a mask if you're in this profession. Actually, no, it's not. Actually, do this. Like, it's
Actually,
not just
do
the
you have any
order.
friends with land out in the country? Because
uh, I mean, honestly, like, I'm as country, like, it's country enough here. Like, I don't know how to compare it to. Where are you,
no,
Oklahoma?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, you guys
how
got a
close
million
are you to
people as well,
places
don't you?
that actually grow food? Because supply chain collapse is a thing.
2020, yeah. Thankfully, like, in Adelaide, rural is 20 kilometers. What's that, like, 8 miles?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. We're, like, I mean, you gotta remember Australia, man. We're the same size as you and only have 7 cities.
Yeah. No, but
But, like, in terms of self-sustenance and stuff like that, I kind of, like, hope that happens. I think we rely too much on outsider influences and outside powers to give us our identities.
all right. So aside from what we've spoken about so far, was there anything else from my conversation with Paul that you
Yeah,
wanted to bring up?
yeah. When you, like, it was like when we had to rescue Jordan Peterson. It was like we had to do something. I think, like, a lot of people have this feeling. Like, a lot more people than I think actually, like, are speaking right now. Which is kind of why I'm, like, starting to do these dialogues. Like, starting to enter the dialogue, as I think, like, we need to start acting in the story now. I don't know, but, like, I mean, I think we don't know what to do with it, but we at least need to start something.
You know, my fatal flaw is, like, in order to not use my powers for evil, I have to turn them against myself. So, like, for me, the first step is 2 liters of water a day, like consistently.
Hmm.
That's what I'm supposed to do. And like, it's
Mhm.
almost like, I don't have voices so much as internal feelings. Like, I'll think a thought
Mhm.
and then a feeling will back it up or not. But like
Yeah.
the feeling that once I pull that step off, the next step will be revealed to me. And like I have to, like, for me, meditation is, it's like I have a block. Like, if any part of me tries to go to do the meditation, there's parts in me that say, and they'll grab the wheel and steer elsewhere
Mhm.
until I forgot what I was doing. But
Hmm.
so yeah, I think, like, we have to go through the Peterson steps. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
fir-
100%.
first,
Like that was actually kind of like the guilty like admittance. Like we had like a soft lockdown, I think around April, kind of like everyone, and that was the first time I did my personality test and the written coaching, and I got that code a long time ago.
yeah, I uh,
Mm. But yeah,
I
like
I fell out pretty early.
yeah,
Like,
I
I
quit.
caught a video of him talking about what to do with creatives, and he was like,
Mhm.
"Well, go flip burgers and then express yourself on the side." And I'm like, "You, sir, are not the man I'm looking for."
Yeah, very true.
But
Like I saw like when he was just like high in openness, high in extroversion, I was like, those people are very hard to get their lives together. And I'm like, well, at least there's a reason.
hmm. So,
Yeah. Mm.
but we can help lead the other folks to the ocean so they can jump in and go swimming.
I
But
think
yeah,
yeah, like I think it's just
I'm glad that resonated. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that feels that. I mean,
yeah.
I invest way more in what Mother Ayahuasca is reported to say than is logical or reasonable to do. But
Mm.
that felt resonant with what's going
Hmm.
on. And what was
Yeah.
said was at this time. And then he went into a coma. So now it's at this time is clearly a different time. What
Yeah.
he might
Well,
be
like
back and he might be great, but where where
yeah,
where's his
he
wave now? Like, in men.
he's just hacked it. He's just trying to like understand who he is because I don't think a Peterson without a lecture is a Jordan Peterson. I think that's what he's trying to do. He's just like this is part of my rehab. But
It's part of my rehab. I like that. That seems
well,
honest.
if you think about like he did say some stuff about synchronicity, and I like got into a deep dive with Peugeot. I'm reading his brother's book at the moment, and I like the first thing I did with lockdown was like try to make sure I had like a healthy schedule or like take advantage of it in whatever way that I could. And it was sort of like trust. I sort of started saying like trust the pattern because I started reading the Wheel of Time fantasy series as well. I don't know if you know it.
No, but I
But
like the
like
title.
oh man, it's a stupendously long series. Like the dude died before the series finished, and then he got someone else to finish it. But they have this thing. They have like in this religion, they have this in sense called the pattern, and like the pattern is the pattern of reality.
Ah, the
Uh,
pattern. Okay.
and then when Peugeot talked about it, and when Peterson talked like about how we are pattern seeing patterns, I was just like, okay, all right, trust in the pattern. And I kind of took it in this sort of Tolkienian sense of like, we subcreate. So we'll take what is outside, put it in, and then sort of manifest it again. So we have to like the pattern of existence, like your 2 liters of water a day. That's the first pattern because it's like grow. It's grow. And then
Right.
there's also probably like, I reckon after 2 liters of water a day, it's probably like 10 push-ups a day is the next
Ah,
thing.
I can't predict it. I choose not to predict because then my other side can set up roadblocks.
uh, oh yeah,
Um,
100%, man. There's a reason I quit smoking. There's a reason I quit smoking, and it was without intention. That was the weird thing.
I had quit, what, like, when I was in the Pentecostal church. There was this one point
Yeah.
that like reaffirmed the existence of God pretty hard is because I knew well and good that like when you try to quit, you get 3 days of hell. The physical withdrawal lasts that long. And there was this one moment when I was still church going, um, I was smoking and I threw him out the window. It was like this. I bit onto that notion that God helps those that help themselves, which I heard wasn't
Hmm.
even biblical. And then, but I bit onto that notion at the time and chucked him out the
Yeah.
window. And I had no withdrawals for those 3 days, and
Yeah.
it felt
I haven't
like
had like
divine
anger.
intervention.
I've had very weird things. Like I've had like I kind of I'm not church going, but I did go like actually maybe I should take this faith thing a little bit more seriously. And then it was just like, oh, everything got a lot easier. I'm like suspicious about the easiness, but I think there's something about like the prayer of serenity is something that I really enjoy because I think that like that is something people need to know. Like,
Especially
you know?
given the ask and you shall receive principle. That is
Oh
just
yeah,
really
and
that's a really wise mantra to ask for.
yeah,
That
and then like on top of that is just like give me the strength to face the things to change the things that I can, the courage to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
strength,
Like
courage, and wisdom.
the idea is, yeah, like the idea is just like, hey, like if there's a God, that still means that there's not much you, and so it's just like you got to put a lot up onto trust.
Well,
And
even if
like,
you come in from the Vervaeke angle, he's starting to say
mm,
stuff like, um, there's a thing called virtue, and that's a very valid point because I'm pretty
mm-hmm.
sure we could ask anybody, "Hey, man, what are the seven deadly sins?" And they'd be able to at least take a shot. And then if you say, "What are the
Yeah,
seven virtues?" They'd be like, "There's seven virtues?"
yeah, yeah. I guarantee you, most people don't know that Dante Alighieri wrote Paradise.
There's a book.
Like they
Oh,
know
yeah. We only know that
there's
there's
two more
Paradise
books.
Lost, right? Yeah.
No, like yeah, because yeah, Dante wrote Inferno, Purgatorio, Paradise.
That's great.
Like yeah, Peterson said this all along. We remember the bad shit. We don't remember the good stuff.
Well, we've been
Hopefully,
evolutionary programmed to look out for bad things.
yeah, but we're evolutionary programmed to be rewarded by good things. So it's just like we're evolutionary programmed to be rewarded by things that we don't know as well.
What's What's interesting is like now that I'm way over 40, I'm starting
Mm.
to see how much the good things are really nonsense. Like that time me and Charlie talked. Um, like not the time that I got this or I got that promotion, or it's like what you remember
Mm.
is like the moments that have are more emotionally
Yeah.
dense.
Well,
And
that was actually the thing to go back to. Oh, finish. Sorry.
no, no, you got me. I'm off the rails now.
The sort of end of the whole understanding synchronicity and the pattern of reality was like it made me appreciate everything because it meant that like I could have time. I'm like I'm gonna see my family. I'll be with my friends. I'll get laid or get drunk, and like it would be to incorporate it together to sort of make something coherent in the entire part of the life. It made me appreciate everything altogether. And then I had DMT for the first time, and there was
What
like
is the synchronistic story that led to your ingestion of dimethyl trip the
DMT. It was honestly, it was I had a housemate who moved in, and he had to exercise some demons. So he apparently like had a 5 hour long like real time DMT trip when I wasn't there, and still had some left, and he said take it. And the way I've always taken psychedelics, like I've always seen psychedelics, is if you're comfortable enough to accept it and it's there, go for it. Don't, if you're ready to accept it and you need to look for it, don't take it. If you're not ready to accept it and it's right in front of you, don't take it. And so like it was just like, yeah, I'm in a good headspace to take it. And I took it, listened to like the favorite track, Zoned Out. I like kind of see the symbolism of like personality above, device below. Had this really strange thing where like, it's probably made up, but I used to think I had a memory of before birth. And like I remember myself being capable of language that I couldn't possibly be able to articulate.
Okay, so what you just said is that you used to have that memory?
I
Or
still have it.
Okay, so before the DMT, you had that memory already.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It was like a beautiful darkness. It was like kind of like half underwater vision. And then I remember like I was saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm scared. I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm scared. And then I heard a voice, female, going, you have to. And part of it was my actual mother's voice, but part of it was just like mother's voice, like cosmic version.
Nice.
And,
so you had. When did you get that? When did you recognize that you have a memory that other people don't, and that's what it was, or was that always with you?
Yeah, it was one of those ones where I was just, well, I mean, yeah, it could easily just be a dream, but it was definitely in the order of things that I try to like look back on from the longest time. I don't know if you ever tried it, just like remembering your earliest memories. And then just go like, how early can I go? Like just in my mind, like there's like that 3rd-year-old birthday party. There's that prank I played with my auntie. There's like, and then I get like flashes like tadpoling, birthday cake, toy.
Like you go into the room, and then you see other stuff while you're there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it becomes like a little bit more amalgamated, and then it went into that vision, that sort of, and it's just weird because it was like there's an intelligence that I have that I definitely like. I knew I wouldn't even have a year from then.
No, so how old were you when you got that though?
When I got the memory?
Yeah, because that's a whole lot of reassurance that I could have used when I was a teenager, you know. So.
I couldn't tell you, man. Like, I mean, the funny thing is, like, it was like how like how it was like me saying I don't want to go out, I'm scared, I don't want to go out. The mother going, I must. It was like I was born 2 weeks late.
So I was also a reluctant birth.
Oh yeah. It took some effort from outside to get me out kicking and screaming.
All right, so then you took the DMT.
Now I've taken the DMT, and I was like, there's a bunch of personalities and spirits or whatever you would want to call them. And I was just like, and then I looked at one and I was just like, oh, that's you. Like when I heard you before, it was you through my mom. And I'm like, now I'm just seeing you. And there was like this whole thing of like, we've been looking forward to you. We really like, we're glad to see you again. But then I got the message, but the message that I got was just like, trust the pattern. Like you're going to see us in that pattern. Like we're going to be part of this illumination. Like, and there's always like a playfulness like moment. The cool thing about the DMT was like, it was, the trip was in equilibrium with my mood. So if I was happy, they became scary. And so like I would calm myself down and they'd become friendlier. And like
this is all in the one and only trip you've had?
Yeah. Every time I've taken like mushrooms like once or twice.
No, I mean it's cool that you had that level of mindfulness while you were, you know, to tie it to your mood, and that's.
Yeah, like I was because I've heard enough of it. I've heard people. I've had friends who've had bad DMT trips, and I've had friends who've had incredible DMT trips. I had a friend who got arrested running into a Hilton on mushrooms, not wearing any pants. So
it says some weird things sometimes.
Oh man!
And then if you misinterpret what it says, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, well, that was the thing, and that's like I don't really like. I do agree with Peugeot in a certain level with drugs, in the sense of just like I think there's way more that can go wrong than can really go right, and if you the way that they should be taken is like with people, but it should be like kind of like the people more important first. But that was the thing that I was just like, okay, I think I don't know if it's a Christian God or a patriarch or a matriarch or a universal intelligent force, whatever. But I think there's enough of it that it fits. Like, and it looks close enough to certain ways that I think it's interesting. And now I've like taken another look at, now I get to take another look at Christianity because of that. Because it's not, I don't understand when, I wouldn't have understood, oh yeah, Jesus Christ did this and that type of stuff. But like, now that I kind of have this different understanding of theology, of like what that God is, I'm just like, well, the main difference between Christianity and all the others is like, this is a birthed, like human mortal version of that conception. And I'm like, what does that mean in, I don't know, the geometry of belief? Because I was Buddhist before for the longest time, and I still greatly appreciate and respect the tradition. But
Now, so you got the you had the meditation experience, but way before the DMT trip.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like my mom, like I lived in California when I was a very young kid, and you guys like giving people drugs. Like I was like 6 years old, and my mom was told, "Oh, you should get him medicated. He's too energetic," and she was just like, "No," and so she made me meditate to sort of calm me down and stop my ADHD.
Wow, that's great, dude.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh
imagine?
yeah.
Like, I don't know how it was for you, but like, I got to that part in whatever lecture series where he talks about, and if you don't roughhouse with a 2 to 4 year old, you really screw them up. I was like, oh, that's why we're
Yeah.
putting the kids on meth. Okay, good to
Dude,
know.
it hurts me. Like I took care of kids on like a gap year. I did a volunteering trip to Brazil, and like absolutely loved it. Like I had the class of like 22 to 4 year olds, and I was picking them up, throwing them around, like literally wrestling like with some of them and just letting them climb all over me. And then like all the time we were talking about how we can't do that here.
What do you
Like I
mean
had a friend who,
you
oh, like
can't
you
do it?
can't pick up a child unless you're the guardian in some cases. Like there's like so many ways you're restricted from contact of
Well,
another person's
especially
child.
now. Especially now, you're not
I
allowed
had,
to. That's the,
I had,
the the very terrifying aspect is like all the kids that don't know how
mm,
unnormal and unnatural everything they're learning to do right now is.
oh man,
That's all
yeah.
they're gonna know for. That's like gonna be what they expect reality to be like.
Mm.
They're being conditioned into this, and it's terrifying.
Oh,
Um,
no, yeah, that's easily the worst. People going through school, not with friends, and thinking that a video call is what a relationship is.
well, it's as close as I've been getting for years, and like my trigger is everyone else being sent into the isolation that I made comfortable for myself because I knew what it took for me to get comfortable. Most of you guys will not mentally survive. It's not pleasant, and
Mm.
so this was a good first meeting, but I don't know how much more I have in me. Do you want to fantasize about what the second wave looks like? If
Yeah,
Peter
do it.
was the spark of the return of the divine masculine, if Isis has finally stirred and found the big black cock of the big black phallus of Osiris, so we can give birth to Horus, like what does it look like?
Mm.
I mean, we can take for granted that It's a bunch of
It
people
looks
who have
like it
sorted
looks,
themselves, right? We'll take that for granted.
yeah,
Like they took
it
the
looks.
hint and got sorted for themselves. And then what do we see?
I I see everyone. I see the most optimistic I could ever be would be like absolute connection and absolute independence. So like we're all standing equally next to each other, not leaning on each other. And that
Uh,
like
I'm
that's
I'm I'm looking more short term. Like
okay. Um, I think I don't know.
all
I
right,
don't. I
let
yeah.
me
What are
let me
you? What are
let
you?
me riddle you a different way. Um, how involved should every man be in their local politics? Like, what's the model of
Mm,
a good man as far as political
yeah.
involvement, community involvement? How do
Yeah.
we get across that coming home and watching TV isn't good enough anymore?
I think the idea would be to make people's jobs be more directly affected in the real world. Like I don't know. Like I've always like had my entire life in hospitality, and I think there's two things. There's like one thing is like I'm very happy I get to see the real world version of my effect, but I don't think people understand what it means to serve people and what it means to actually like just offer yourself to someone's benefit and to someone's pleasure and for their own, to give them a portion of identity that they wouldn't be able to have on their own. And I think like if you can actually manage to get, if you can manage to get people sorted out and doing the best, you know, things that they can do, they'd probably, I don't know, they'd change, they'd have like a lot of social change and actually like be associated to people that would be 100% for their benefit. And I think most people would be happier with that. But they would also, I don't know, restrict themselves of debauchery. I don't know. It's getting harder.
Okay, because I just had some stupid fantasy image that I
Go
have
for
for
it.
it, and it's
Go for it.
and it's a reckoning. Um,
Yeah.
like there, it at some level, it's supposed to fall on adults, let's say, not just men, but
Mm-hmm.
adults, to hold people accountable to their word,
Yeah.
and like I think the first like ever like politically the two liters of water a day is knowing who represents you on the city count, like what the names of your representatives are on each step of the
Yeah.
ladder, especially
Mm-hmm.
local, especially like local
Yeah.
law enforcement, sheriffs are for us. I don't know how it works for you
Yeah.
guys, but it'd be our sheriffs. Like that's, and aside from like growing things and learning to make your own food and
Mm. Well, that's the thing. Like a reckoning sounds terrible when you put it into the scale of America. But if you put it into the scale of your town, it sounds like you could actually like do everything without any fire. If that makes sense.
so and
Like
some
it,
things spread virally.
yeah, something spread virally. I don't know. It's just
Which I'm gonna
what makes,
let's trust the pattern on it, but it's fun to speculate, right?
yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. Like, I want to get back to you on like maybe next time we have a chat, have a look at this poem that Tolkien wrote called Mythopoeia.
Yeah, you don't have it in
Um,
by memory right now in your head.
I got the most important part.
All right,
Like it's
let's drop that
uh,
and then stop recording.
he sees no stars who does not see them first, of living flame that sudden burst to a flower beneath an ancient song.
Yeah, that one went straight into my subconscious and is It's gonna come back to me.
Well, it's essentially like the beginning is like, it doesn't really matter how, you know, cold and regimented the patterns of gravity and the mathematics of a tree growth and the objectivity of a construction of a stone or a human being or whatever. You don't see that first. You see the meaning first.
Ah.
Like you don't see a star until you see a flame, like a flame that's bursting into a flower beneath this gigantic expanse of life.
Ah. Well,
Like,
I'm gonna cut the recording now because I'm gonna cut the video right when you're in the
Yeah.
poem.
Perfect.
And like, yeah, I got to make other cuts anyway, so I'm gonna be